Hidden near Göbekli Tepe, 50 new structures with T-shaped pillars at the site of Sayburç have been uncovered. Meet the world's first known murder victim from 12,000 years ago in Vietnam. And in Peru, a 3D mural reveals a shaman transforming before your eyes, painted thousands of years ago. These are just 3 of the many discoveries archaeologists made in the past month that are rewriting history. Today, I will be your guide on a journey through time, exploring these latest exciting stories from around the world, having used my years of experience as an archaeologist to carefully research and put together these monthly videos of well-sourced and interesting news about real archaeology. No pseudoscience, clickbait, or AI here. I even interviewed an archaeologist who made one of these discoveries so that you can get the information fresh from the field. If this all sounds like it's right up your trench, stay tuned to dig deep into these captivating stories from our past. This video is sponsored by AncientCyprus.com. Did you know Cypriots were the first people to domesticate cats over 9,000 years ago? This website uncovers fascinating stories like this from the island's extraordinary archaeological heritage. From intricate early Bronze Age pottery to late archaic wares, their goal is to document Cyprus's entire material culture through meticulously researched articles drawing from thousands of academic sources. With new content launching soon, they're building the most comprehensive resource on Cypriot and Eastern Mediterranean archaeology available anywhere. And it's completely free to access. No paywalls, no ads, no monetization. Whether you're a history enthusiast or just curious about humanity's past, AncientCyprus.com offers a window into one of the world's most archaeologically rich regions. Visit their website today via the link in the description of this video to explore ancient Cyprus like you never have before. All right, everybody, let's dig in to the discoveries. We have 7 stories today in our Top Discoveries segment, presented in chronological order, starting with the one that goes the farthest back in time. Our journey begins roughly 12,600 years ago in southeastern Turkey and the Taş Tepeler group of Neolithic archaeological sites, which are known for their T-shaped pillars, the earliest evidence found of animal domestication, and monumental structures. You may or may not have heard of the most famous Taş Tepeler site, Göbekli Tepe, but today we are visiting its lesser-known relative, Sayburç, where recently more than 50 structures, including T-shaped pillars, have been found. My good friend, HistoryWithKayleigh, was actually in Turkey on a tour visiting these sites when the news broke, and she's here to tell you all about this discovery in our first ever field report. Take it away, Kayleigh.
I'm currently at Sayburç. I was at Göbekli Tepe this morning where they found that human carving, that statue. But here in Sayburç, they have found skeletons in 50 of the dwellings of what they believe to be dwellings. And these skeletons, they're piles of like bones. So you have a head from one individual, an arm from another, a leg bone from another individual. All these bones that they found in piles in these dwellings all belong to different people. But themselves, like the piles themselves, would be nearly a complete skeleton. So that's one of the weird things here that you find at Sayburç that we don't see anywhere else. But I'll let you see Sayburç for a bit. So like here, you can see some of these dwellings. So Sayburç is one of the interesting ones. Here you can see the mass amount of T-shaped pillars that we find here in Sayburç. And some of these pillars like really have the carvings in them. You can see here, and you have an animal right here. And then if we go back all the way here, see the V shape and the hands down at the stone. It's really awesome. So this could be another one of the locations where they found the human bones in a pile. It's so massive though. Like if I go all the way here, see how big that is. How far this stretches.
Thanks so much to Kayleigh for taking the time to film this. Don't forget to go check out her full in-depth video on this site and discovery over on her channel after you finish this one, of course. Our next story brings us to Vietnam. There, at a cave site in Trang An Landscape Complex World Heritage Site, an exceptionally well-preserved, approximately 35-year-old male skeleton was found in 2017/18. The bones were dated to 12,500 to 12,000 years before present, which corresponds with the late Pleistocene epoch. The superior preservation of these remains meant scientists could perform detailed testing of different models of biological affinity and recovered the earliest mitochondrial DNA evidence obtained to date in Vietnam. The results of this testing found that this man belonged to a local hunter-gatherer population with no indication of the influence of East Asian farmer populations. Osteological analysis found that despite his death at what we would consider a young age, he was in quite good health. Interestingly, he had an extra 25th rib, something that's only seen in 0.2 to 1% of the human population. This extra rib was located near his neck and showed signs of being broken and infected. A small triangular quartz micropoint was found near this rib, which the researchers think was part of a projectile like an arrow that, when shot, did not kill him instantly. Instead, he probably lived for a few months after the initial injury before dying, potentially from the infection of the projectile wound. The micropoint is unique, as this technology has not yet been widely found in mainland Southeast Asia. At present, we only have examples of it from island contexts, so it's not local. This uniqueness and the damage profile of the point, combined with the skeleton's injuries, has led the researchers to believe that this man's death was a result of interpersonal violence, making him the oldest known example of this and potentially murder victim, or at least attempted murder victim, in the world. This discovery is also significant in that it adds to a growing list of evidence of interpersonal conflict in the archaeological record among prehistoric hunter-gatherer societies, extending this record farther back into at least the final millennia of the late Pleistocene era. And it raises some questions of what exactly were they fighting over? We're going to have to keep digging to find out the answer to that one. Now we head to Senegal in West Africa, where a 9,000-year-old quartz tool workshop has been found. Well-dated and well-preserved sites of this age are, unfortunately, quite scarce in West Africa, making this find all the more important. This discovery comes from the Ravin Blanc X site, which is the latest known later Stone Age occupation in the Falémé Valley. Archaeologists working there identified 6 stratigraphic layers, and within the second deepest, called Layer 2, they found a fireplace and a quartz knapping workshop, identified as such by its dense concentration of almost 1,200 lithic artifacts, 80% of which are waste products consisting of cores, core maintenance products, and angular waste. The type of stone used here was a homogeneous quartz, which was probably chosen because of its high-quality knapping properties. The presence of the fireplace in the same stratigraphic layer as the workshop allowed the researchers to collect charcoal samples for radiocarbon dating. This returned remarkably consistent dates of between 9,271 and 8,988 years before present, placing this layer in the early Holocene era. Analysis of the lithics showed that 2 distinct standardized blank types of tools were produced. This standardization reduced the need for retouching and signals skill, planning, and a desire for uniform parts that fit composite weapons. The archaeological data also indicated that this site was only occupied for a short visit focused on production. There were no post holes, bones, piles of trash, or anything else to indicate a longer-term settlement, just the hearth, debris ring, and lithic blanks that did not make the cut. To cross-check the environment, the team also studied phytoliths, tiny silica bodies that plants leave in soils. This showed that the workshop sits at the beginning of the African humid period, when monsoon rains pushed north and savannas expanded, reshaping water availability, vegetation, and human mobility patterns. This site concurs with other evidence from this time that people were working in a grass-rich savanna with available wood and stable surfaces that protected small flakes from being washed away. This site is a rare insight into human activity for this time and space, highlighting the complexity of regional lithic traditions and raising new ideas about cultural transitions during the Pleistocene to Holocene climactic shift. Our fourth story today brings us to the province of Bavaria in Germany near the town of Regensburg. Now, archaeologists have found a prehistoric burial site dating back more than 4,000 years to the transitional period from the Neolithic era to the Bronze Age. It contains the skeletons of 22 individuals placed in crouched positions with grave goods of bell-shaped ceramic vessels, arrowheads, copper daggers, and stone wrist guards used for archery. These artifacts suggest that their owners belonged to the bell beaker culture and has allowed a preliminary dating of the burials, with radiocarbon dating to follow. Among the most intriguing finds are two burials of pairs of individuals placed closely together. Further DNA analysis will hopefully reveal whether or not they are related. Beyond the graves, additional settlement remains, including post holes from longhouses, storage pits, a clay oven, and a well were found. The well dates to around 3500 to 3300 BCE, making it older than the burial ground itself and is significant in its age and state of preservation. All the recovered archaeological materials are undergoing further study and conservation to hopefully be eventually displayed in a museum. This is one of the largest burial grounds of this era ever found in Bavaria, making it one of the most remarkable ancient discoveries in the area. Notably, it happened during construction of a major power line and did not, I repeat, did not cause any delays to the project. This is because finds like this had been anticipated and accounted for in the schedule due to this region being known for its high density of archaeological remains. So as you can see, it's possible for archaeology and development to work in harmony so that everyone wins. Our fifth story this month comes from near the coast of Peru at the site of Huaca, Yolanda. I had a chance earlier this week to catch up with the excavations director, Dr. Cecilia Mauricio, from the Pontifical Catholic University of Peru, so she could tell us all about her discovery firsthand. Let's dig in to the interview. Welcome to the channel. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm going to jump into my very first question, which is, can you give us a brief background into the site that you're excavating?
First of all, thank you very much for the interest in our work. Huaca Yolanda is an archaeological site on the north coast of Peru. It's located on the Santa River Valley. The structures are on the slope of a mountain. The site it's been divided into two sectors, Huaca Yolanda A and Huaca Yolanda B. We've been excavating in Huaca Yolanda A, which is almost 40 hectares in extension. The site is being occupied through time from at least 4,000 years ago to 1,000 years AD, more or less. So a lot of time. The site is being used apparently for different purposes, but mostly as a special place, sacred place, ritual place. The site has cemetery areas from different periods, also several plazas, at least 4 plazas, rectangular and circular plazas, structures that are along the slopes of the mountains, and also agricultural terraces that are on the other sector, Huaca Yolanda B mostly, and also the upper part of the mountains. The site was excavated first in the late 1970s, and then it was reported in other works that were developed in the area, but nobody excavated the site until now, like almost 46 years later. Our archaeological program has been working in the area for the last 13 years, and we studied how the first monumental constructions, the first monumental buildings developed in this area. And this is the very first time that we went to excavate Huaca Yolanda.
And what exactly brought you back to Huaca Yolanda? What in particular made it stick out to you or made you guys want to come back and work there?
Previous work in Huaca Yolanda mentioned that the site possibly had a late pre-Islamic occupation, and also occupation that could probably be monumental from that period. And so that is very it has a very close relationship with our topic, our main topic. And also we were excavating in other sites very close to this area, and those areas are very well connected with the area where Huaca Yolanda is. So it makes sense to understand how these sites perhaps were related to each other. The first monumental sites in Peru are supposed to be communal.
Fascinating. So your site has recently made a couple headlines across the world. I first came across it in the Guardian newspaper in the UK. You've made a pretty big discovery within your first season of excavation. Can you tell us more about what that is?
It's a mural. It's a wall actually that is decorated on both sides, and it has a very particular decoration, and it is very unique because the state of preservation, the images that are depicted in the mural, and also because of the techniques applied for the construction of this mural that made it three-dimensional. Actually, the style is very typical in some ways of the formative period. It is three-dimensional because it has these features that connect one side of the mural to the other side, and also some part of the mural, especially one part that has a human figure, human image, has like an extension of his body or her body. It looks like a wall, but it's not a wall. It's an extension that connects this part of the wall with other part of the whole room. We were excavating in one of these buildings that is part of Huaca Yolanda, and this is a U-shaped building. We were excavating in the upper part, in the surface or the upper part of the main atrium, the highest space in the whole building, and we found this wall that is part of the structures that were built in this upper part of the building, like the most private area. Actually, what we are seeing at the interior of this building is, and so this interior has these rooms that were fully decorated with these very impressive images, these friezes with colors. Everything was painted. The mural and the floor associated to this mural, and it's in a very well state of preservation because at some point these people, the people that built this site, buried this architecture to renovate the architecture, and they built another phase of architecture on top of that. There is a very good chance that the whole building related to that mural is in a very, very good state of preservation, despite the site is being looted for decades, actually.
Other than that human figurine that you mentioned, what are some of the images that we're seeing on this mural? What is it depicting?
One side of the mural has the image of a bird. Its wings are extended, and the bird is facing to the west. This is a very typical image of probably it's an eagle, and this is very typical from this period. But the lower part of the bird looks like the image of a feline. It's almost 6 meters long and 3 meters high. It's a very, very, very large image. The other side of the wall has human figures that grow in size from east to west, like the smallest, medium size, and the largest one. And also, as they grow up, they lose their human attributes. And so you have one of these figures that looks very much as a human, and then the other has a very similar image, but in a different headdress. And the last one, the head of the last one is actually the head of a bird. The head of the bird that is depicted in the other side of the mural. You are able to see feathers coming out of his body. This, for me, is the representation of the transformation of the shaman during this time where the mural belongs to, which is the formative period. The shamans or the priestess and priestesses were very important, like the most powerful part of the society, and they were in charge of these kind of buildings. They were in charge of these ceremonies. They are supposed to be common people, but they have this special knowledge and these special abilities to cure people, to connect this world, etc. But they were able to do that only when they, after they perform a ritual for themselves. So they transformed from being a normal human to be these special characters. And so shamans are I think around the world associated with animals, spirits. I think in this mural, the transformation of a shaman from being a regular human to being this special person with these abilities, and probably this shaman or the shamans related to this building were associated with birds. We uncovered just a piece of the mural, but we don't know the rest of the mural, what images are of the rest of the mural, the decoration. Probably there were rooms decorated in a very similar way than this mural.
So you mentioned that this comes from the formative era. How long ago was that, and how were you able to date the mural? I saw mention of planned like radiocarbon and pigmentation studies, but
well, formative period it's about 2,000 years, from 4,000 BP to 2,000 BP, more or less. This is right after the pre-ceramic. We've been able to date the mural to probably the very beginning of this period, the formative period, and probably I think it's in between the pre-ceramic and the formative period because of the style of the image. And we'll be able to date the Huaca Yolanda mural because when people buried this site, this mural, they were putting small offerings during this process, like pieces of pigments, red pigments, orange pigments, blue pigments, and also seeds of some kind of plants. So we will be able to date the renovation of the architecture that is supposed to be very close to the use of the building, the use of the mural.
It's just kind of struck me. It's so convenient. They did such a good job of burying the mural, so it's so well preserved for us. And then they also happen to include stuff that we could also then do like radiocarbon dating. It's just it's just so considerate.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What exactly is it about this discovery of this mural that makes it important?
It is important because the uniqueness of the mural, these techniques that people apply, also because the state of preservation of the whole building, which will let us to study the heart of a temple from this formative period. This is the first time we are seeing the inside of the building. Most of the murals related to the formative period that have been reported in Peru, in different parts of Peru, are mostly or were mostly associated to the facade of the building and pieces. In Peru, we have a very, very important problem with looting of the sites. Most of the sites that have been reported from this period have been heavily looted. And so the other murals related to formative periods are associated with facades, the exterior of these buildings. And this is the first time we are seeing the interior and the heart actually of one of these buildings, these temples. And that gives you the opportunity to study perhaps a more private speech, because these murals, the images were part of the speech of this part of the society, the shaman class, the shaman group, and perhaps this speech that is represented in these murals were different from the images that people were allowed to see from the outside. And also it is important because it is from the very beginning of this period and very close to the pre-ceramic period, so that gives us the opportunity to study how this building developed and how the power of these people also developed through time, and why these people were important besides what we already know. And also from the art history point of view, it is a very interesting opportunity to see this kind of art and the techniques applied, the colors they use.
Well, I mean, I look forward to seeing what you guys are going to be coming up with next. You mentioned that you're going to be going back for more field work next season. Do you have any more to say about what's planned? What in future? Are you going to expand that 6 by 6 meter trench and try and find the whole thing?
The plan is to get more funds to come back next year and excavate a larger part of the site, very close to where we were digging this year. In our plans is not only the excavate the site more, but also to translate what we are finding to the schools in the area in this year, because we are very close to a small, very small town that is called Tanguche. Everybody was visiting the site during the excavations. It was amazing because people families came to the site, and they always brought something for us, something to drink, something to eat, something to share. They were very happy with this discovery. It was in the news in different countries, and also all over the news in Peru. So they were very proud of what we found. The plan is also work with the schools and develop materials, educational materials to include this, not only the town, but especially the school, with these findings, and also work with the community to see what they expect from us, from the archaeological work. It's very important for us to include them in our work.
Yeah, I mean, archaeology is effectively done for the benefit of public good, right? It's all about uncovering the knowledge of everyone's past. So yeah, that's great. That sounds really exciting. Well, I look forward to following, and please let me know if and when you guys get back in the field, if you want to send me along any other discoveries or what you find next year. I'd be happy to talk to you again. So I'll keep my fingers crossed for you that you find even more of these murals.
What an intriguing find, with hopefully more to come next year. Now we head to Egypt, where archaeologists have uncovered a 2,263-year-old rare and complete hieroglyphic version of the Canopus decree of King Ptolemy III. Found at the site of Tel El Farin, the newly discovered stela is made of sandstone with a rounded top, measuring 127.5 centimeters high, 83 centimeters wide, and about 48 centimeters thick. Its central section contains 30 lines of hieroglyphic text, carved in medium-quality sunken relief. The Canopus decree is the second oldest of the Ptolemaic decrees. It was originally issued in 238 BCE by Egyptian priests convened in the city of Canopus in honor of King Ptolemy III, his wife Queen Berenike, and their daughter. It celebrates the king and queen as the beneficent gods and details their contributions to the Egyptian state and religion, including donations to temples, maintaining peace and stability within the kingdom, reducing taxes during years of low Nile floods, introducing the leap year system to the Egyptian calendar, and deifying their daughter Berenike. The original decree ordered that stelae be inscribed in hieroglyphs, Demotic, and Greek, and distributed to the most important temples across Egypt. The original trilingual decree played a pivotal role in the modern decipherment of hieroglyphics, when a copy discovered in Tanis in 1866 provided more hieroglyphic signs than the Rosetta Stone, greatly aiding scholars in cracking the code of Egypt's writing system. The fact that this newly found version is solely in hieroglyphs suggests possible regional variations in how the decree was executed, as well as allowing linguists to refine their understanding of late Egyptian grammar, vocabulary, and syntax without interference from parallel translations. This copy joins 6 previously known versions of the decree in helping us not only understand the ancient Egyptian language, but providing additional insights into Ptolemaic decrees, as well as royal and religious ceremonial systems. Our last discovery of this month comes from northern Albania, where a first-of-its-kind tomb has been found in the region of Dibra. Dating to the 3rd to 4th centuries CE, it measures approximately 9 by 6 meters and was divided into 3 main areas: the 2.4-meter high burial chamber, an antechamber, and a monumental staircase adorned with geometric motifs. Additional wall structures above the tomb suggest it may have served as a small mausoleum rather than just a simple grave. Inside, it contains a rare bilingual Roman inscription, the first of its kind ever found in the region, dedicated to the deceased Gallianos and the Roman god Jupiter. Although the tomb had been looted in antiquity, part of its original inventory was recovered, including glass vessels of various types, bone combs, knives, and a large section of textile woven with gold threads that had been used to wrap the deceased. To construct the tomb, large stones were quarried from distant sites and precisely shaped to form the structural framework. The combination of carefully carved stones, the monumental staircase, and decorative stucco suggests a high level of craftsmanship and indicates the social status of the individual buried there. Excavations at the site continue, and researchers hope to uncover additional tombs, inscriptions, and artifacts that will shed light on the lives, beliefs, and artistry of ancient communities in this region. That's it for our top discoveries. Which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this segment, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and/or hype it. Now we're going to move on to archaeology in the news and popular media. First up, my friend published a book this month. Ancient Egypt in 50 Discoveries was written by Stephanie Boonstra and Campbell Price and explores how our image of ancient Egypt has developed through the lens of 50 discoveries made in the first century of excavations by the Egypt Exploration Society. Steph and I go all the way back to my first semester of undergrad at university. We've excavated and traveled together, and I'm so proud and excited for her to have her first book published. I spoke to Steph and Campbell about the creation of this book earlier this week. So let's dig in to what they had to say. All right, so welcome to the channel, Stephanie and Campbell. It's an absolute pleasure to have you both here.
Hi, it's so great to be here.
My first question is, what was your inspiration for writing this book, The Ancient Egypt in 50 Discoveries, which my background is trying to blur out, but which I have right here?
The idea, I think, for the book came from a course, the first ever online course that the Egypt Exploration Society ever offered, which was way back in 2021, just as the pandemic was taking hold. The EES was very responsive as a wonderful charity promoting understanding of Egypt's rich cultural heritage. So we took 50 objects for that course. And then when the course was finished, talking to Stephanie and the director of the EES, Carl Graves, I think we came up with the idea that this would make a really good book. And we're often asked, what highlights from the past 100 and something years of the EES would you want to share?
So it was great that we had this list that Campbell had originally put together. Campbell was the chair of the EES at the time, and I was the archivist, taking all of these exciting discoveries that the EES made into this great course. And so we were able to build off that list and amend it and bring other people in. So it was a lot of fun to put together.
Yeah, you have quite a list of contributing authors. I noticed when I first opened it. So not that that's necessarily a challenge, but that makes me think about, this was a really, really big project to put together. So in that vein, what was the most challenging part of putting the book together?
I mean, yeah, you're definitely right. The organization was challenging at times, particularly just finding time. A lot of this was written during COVID, when actually our workloads were kind of busier than ever. We were so fortunate to work with so many amazing contributing authors, a wide variety of experts in their field, and we really enjoyed doing that. But yeah, it's a lot of work to kind of bring everyone together, but we're so happy with how that turned out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's like herding cats in a way, but some great cats with great contributions. And one opportunity I really enjoyed, especially working with Steph on this, was to get archival images which had not widely been shared. So maybe specialists knew them. We were able to share things which did not normally get featured in books, which is exciting.
And so there's obviously 50 discoveries in the book. Can you each tell me what your favorite discovery was to feature?
My personal favorite, and of course, ask me on a different day and I'll give you a different answer. But today, I would say the discovery at Manchester Museum, where I work, of a very bashed up lower section of a seated statue, which turned out to represent a man called Senenmut. Senenmut was a high official around 1450 BCE under the reign of the female pharaoh Hatshepsut. This guy was like the ancient Egyptian Michelangelo. And to discover one of his statues, the 26th known statue of this guy in Manchester Museum stores from the excavations of the Egypt Exploration Fund, as it was then, was really super exciting. So that's my favorite.
I was thinking about this, and it's really tough to decide. It's like choosing between your children. I have like so many favorites in there. There's one entry about the kind of so-called scarab factory at the site of Naucratis in the Delta, which was special to me because scarab workshops were my PhD topic. Then also I love our cover mask. So that beautiful gilded funerary mask. And that's special because it's never been published before. It's in the EES's own cartonnage collection. So it was really nice to be able to spotlight that object. But my actual, I would say, personal favorite would be the unfinished head or bust of Queen Nefertiti that was found by the EES at Amarna in the 1930s. I have a replica of it here. So this is what she looks like, but bigger. One of the things I love the most about it, not only is it a work of a masterpiece work of art, but the discovery itself is so interesting. The wife of one of the excavators that season she was helping out on the excavation that season, and she was walking across the site of Amarna, and she tripped, which let's be honest, we all have our moments on archaeological sites where we trip. But when she turned over what she tripped on, she found a stamped mud brick and part of a plaster face. And so she said, oh, okay, well, the plaster faces often come from sculpture workshops. So they ended up excavating that area over the course of 3 weeks. And they found not only this unfinished bust, but loads of other royal statuary from Amarna. And my current research is Amarna, so you can kind of understand why that might be my favorite discovery.
Those are both great choices. And yeah, fascinating stories, of which there is more about them in the book, obviously.
Yeah.
So in that vein, though, what are some of the things that were considered as a part of your process, but perhaps didn't make it into the book?
As Steph said, it's a book about spotlighting not just great discoveries, but also the processes that the EES has been involved in. And what I really like, what we really tried to do was, rather than a lot of these similar books with a kind of similar remit, rather than focusing, I don't know, on the British Museum or the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, we really wanted to highlight smaller collections. So I think we had debates about there's material in there from, Japan or from Bolton, places that don't necessarily get featured. There were other examples of objects that maybe were slightly better known that we actually ended up swapping out for something in a less well-known collection.
Oh, so it's kind of like the opposite then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we really wanted to kind of strike that balance, and it often felt like a puzzle where you'd be like, okay, well, we really want to include this collection. The best thing we can get from that collection that fits in will then basically make another object null. So we had to take that out, and it was very complicated. That was probably one of the really challenging aspects in the beginning, and our list of 50 objects evolved quite a bit over time.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, this is something that we mentioned in the introduction, that you could write 50 different books using 50 different discoveries, all from the EES, and end up with kind of 50 different stories. So this is just one kind of look at ancient Egypt through 50 of the objects that we were particularly inspired by.
Well, I mean, there's always room to write volume 2. So.
Yeah. 50 more discoveries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. My last question today is kind of just, it's not really about the book, but it's something I always like to ask a lot of the archaeologists that come on the channel, which is, as you're both Egyptologists, I would assume if you were going to time travel back in time, you would be traveling to Egypt. If you had to pick a specific time in Egyptian history to travel to, where would you go? Or when would you go, I suppose?
If I had to choose one moment based on what is in the book, I think I would choose the building and the occupation of one of the massive mud brick fortresses that were built in the south of Egypt, in what we call Nubia, the area of southern modern Egypt into the north of modern Sudan. These are, they make pyramids look pretty modest in scale. And I would love to have seen how people, lived and operated and how those structures worked, I think. So that would be going back to about 1800, 1850 BCE, so almost 4,000 years ago.
I would love to, and I want to make it clear, I do not want to live in ancient Egypt. I appreciate modern medicine and everything that we have these days, but I'd love to go back to be a fly on the wall, particularly I think during the Amarna period. So I excavate at Amarna now, and that's my research focus. My research specifically looks at workshops and production. And we know from doing experimental archaeology and using scientific analyses how these things like ancient glass and Egyptian faience and pigments could have been made. So we know, and we've been able to replicate them to a degree, but just because we know how they could have been made doesn't mean we know how they made them. And I'd love to be able to go back to Amarna, so it's the site in the very middle of Egypt, halfway between Cairo and Luxor, to the time of the pharaoh Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti, so in the 1300s BCE, and kind of go into one of those little workshops and just watch them, be like, how did you make this? But also, how did they come up? How did they find this knowledge to do this?
That's all my questions for today. It's a short and sweet interview, but if people are interested in learning more about what you guys were talking about, obviously they can pick up your book via the link in my description.
Thanks so much, Rachel.
Please. Thank you, Rachel.
Here it is. It will be occupying a prime space in my library behind me. Now, in the interest of transparency, the EES did send me a free copy of this book, but I'll be honest with you guys, I was planning on buying it anyway because it is very reasonably priced at £25/$35 USD, and it's available to order and ship worldwide. If you'd like your own copy, just go to their website. There's a link in the description, and then tell me which discovery was your favorite in the comments. In New York, an Egyptian former physician has been sentenced to 6 months in a U.S. federal prison for smuggling ancient artifacts into the country. Ashraf Omar Eldarir was convicted after authorities uncovered a long-running smuggling scheme that channeled hundreds of looted objects from Egypt into the international art market. He was caught in January 2020 at JFK Airport when customs officers opened his luggage and found 590 ancient artifacts concealed in bubble wrap and foam. Among them were golden funerary amulets and wooden tomb models dressed in linen that were almost 4,000 years old. According to prosecutors, the pivot from licensed physician to antiquities smuggler began during the Egyptian Revolution in 2011, when widespread looting created opportunities for traffickers to amass a fresh supply of heritage objects. Eldarir regularly traveled between Cairo and New York, supplying objects to dealers and auction houses. This case highlights the vulnerability of the global antiquities trade and underscores the need for rigorous due diligence by antiquities buyers. More than 600 artifacts have now been seized as a part of the investigation and will be repatriated to Egypt. However, things don't seem to be going much better over there in terms of antiquities security. as this month officials revealed that a 3,000-year-old bracelet belonging to Pharaoh Amenhotep, I can't say this correctly. I'm going to spell it out on the screen. Was stolen from the Egyptian Museum in Cairo and then melted down for gold. This king's burial is notable for being one of the 3 entirely intact royal burials known from ancient Egypt. The gold bracelet containing a lapis lazuli bead was stolen from an unsecure restoration lab at the museum and then funneled through a chain of dealers before being melted down. Okay. 4 suspects have been arrested, including a restoration specialist at the museum who confessed to giving the bracelet to an acquaintance who owns a silver shop. It was allegedly then sold to the owner of a gold workshop for around $3,800 US. Like, that was like a priceless item. That's, whoa, okay. It was then sold on again for around $4,000 to a worker at another gold workshop who melted the bracelet down to make other gold jewelry. The suspects confessed to their crimes and the money was seized, but it's too late to recover the object. It's gone. This has led to widespread outrage among Egyptians and Egyptologists, with calls for tightening of the security of antiquities. All right, everyone, time to pack up our finds and hang up our shovels. That's everything for this video. Did you like it? Which discovery was your favorite? Is there anything important that I missed? Don't forget to comment, like the video, or subscribe to the channel before you leave. If you're feeling extra generous, you can give me a super thanks or go to my Ko-fi page and support me with a small donation. If you're looking for a more tangible return, then you can check out my Redbubble shop and get a sticker, t-shirt, hat, or mug with your favorite archaeology slogan. Taking a few seconds to support me in any way that you can helps to grow the channel and promote quality heritage content that is well-sourced, researched, and presented by somebody who is an expert in this subject. It's not just, random voiceovers narrated by AI. It shows the algorithm that people are interested in learning about real archaeology. So thank you so much for watching. Stay curious, and I hope to see you on my next adventure inside archaeology.